Well, hello everybody. I am Luke Baird. As we said, I'm a student at CIU. I'm actually a freshman. I took a gap year to kind of figure out what school was for me. Didn't really know if college was going to be worth it or not. And here I am. And because of CIU, I'm here speaking, which is an amazing opportunity. If you haven't already met me, I would love to meet you at some point before the end of the day. It's been wonderful getting to know you all stories and then getting to hear some of your ideas. I learned last night talking with you guys that I'm one of, if not the youngest in the room, and that fact alone is pretty crazy, and I'll dive into how old I am in just a minute. But first, so that's my company. But first, I want to ask, who here is familiar with Lego? Raise your hand. Okay, everybody, that's kind of what I expected. Who here has a Lego problem that eats up all their savings and all their money?
Carolina. I do. I have a problem.
So y'all are gonna love what I have to share then. So when people ask me what kind of business I run, I usually give one of two answers. If I want to sound professional and want to impress somebody, I'll tell them I do additive manufacturing. Intent is 3D printing. But I make custom Legos for a living, which is a little crazy to think of as an idea, but isn't anything necessarily revolutionary in the world. So I'll just give you a brief rundown of exactly what I do. So right here on the left are 3D printed items. The one on the far left is actually hand painted by me, and then all the gray parts are resin 3D printed. And then right here on the right is the new technology that I recently got into called UV printing, where you make Lego light figures in mass production. But people want to pay crazy amounts of money for these figures. It's a little wild to me. The resin 3D printed parts sell for about $15 on my website. I've sold that exact one in that image for $100, and then I've sold a little over 20 of these Jokers for $45 each. Most of my website has items between $20 and $60, most being the $30 to $35 range, which is crazy that people buy this kind of stuff, because that's a tank of gas for most people. But this is a good example of some of the stuff I do. Right here on the left is some 3D assets that I had designed from a guy in the Philippines. And then right here in the middle are the raw 3D prints without paint. And then funny enough, all of the parts here on the figure are all spray painted. No professional painting or anything. And then the torso and the specialty design uses the UV printing technology. Here's some more example of some of the stuff I do. This is all my 3D printed stuff. A good chunk of it's painted by me, but I have some other painters that work for me too. And all of this is 3D printed with my machines. So I got all sorts of Star Wars, Halo, Marvel, DC, some other original stuff that I've worked on. And then this is some of the UV printing technology, some other examples of that. These are near Lego-like things using a similar production method to what Lego uses. In fact, if you go to one of their bigger stores, they actually have a machine similar to what I use for their custom minifigure maker. Just so you guys kind of have some context as to this business, I founded this business in August 2021, and since then we've had a ton of growth, if you guys can't already see. Closed out 2024 with $130,000 in gross annual revenue. That's not profit. And I'm expected to close out 2025 with around $200,000 in sales. Some more things are, we've had nearly 10,000 orders since launch, 16,000 Instagram followers, 700 active Discord members, and all of this I've taken on without a drop of debt. I don't even have a credit card. I've never taken a dime of investment money. I participated in SE Innovate last semester just to see how far I could get. I haven't taken any debt or loans or anything outside of my own personal money. I don't say any of this to boast, rather I want to be best of an inspiration to each of you. The greatest Robert Joy is comparison, though I won't lie, I've compared my way up to where I am today. It's partly why my business has grown to the extent, is because I see what my competition's doing and I want to best innovate based off of their examples. And in the really worst case scenarios, if that business has bad business ethics, I want to take them down. I have a huge thing for if somebody takes advantage of my customers, the pride and joy in that. But a little bit about my story. I grew up homeschooled. I didn't get a fresh social media account until I was 14. There's a big deal about hand-painted LEGO customs. I tried my hand at them. I eventually found and fell in love with the new technology at the time that's a bit more mainstream. It uses water slide decal technology. If you've done any sort of model making, you've probably used a similar thing for planes, Warhammer, who knows. But this is a good example. Essentially, it's a piece of paper you cut out, let it float in water, and it releases a film that has some sort of pre-printed image on it that's typically harder to hand paint. I built a brand at 14 and eventually began working for the custom LEGO company that was using this technology and kind of making it more mainstream. At 15, I was forced out due to misconceptions with my coworkers, and that was rough. There's going to be a whole theme of highs and lows in my talk. I just want to give you guys a perspective of business is great, but it can also be really hard. You, instead of working a 9 to 5 for somebody else, you work 24/7 for yourself. And sometimes that can be hard, but sometimes it can be great. But after I left that company, I took some time off to explore costuming for a year. So this is some of the stuff I've done. There's a stormtrooper on the left, and that's my Boba Fett on my right. I actually have that guy still in my room. He's my pride and joy. About 6 months in, I decided to work for Chick-fil-A for 6 months, and that was an awful experience. I learned quickly that that was not the kind of job for me. It also didn't help that management sucked at that location, so kind of win some and lose some at the same time. But after that, I decided to quit. It's during the summer. I only worked there for like 3 months. Took the last paycheck and put it back into LEGO since I already had some experience. And I kind of just wanted to see what could happen. I mean, what's the worst thing that can happen while you're living under your parents' roof and you really just have a phone bill to pay? You might lose some money, but hey, worth the excitement. So I was already doing costuming stuff, so 3D printing was not necessarily new to me at the time. This is some of the earliest stuff that I had produced. Sparing you every single detail about expanding the inventory, I had designers that I was working with. At the time, I was, I believe, a sophomore in high school, and I was signing on designers that were late through college. They didn't have time to 3D print their own designs. So I would license the rights to their designs and market them, and some of these people made thousands from me, and they were only getting like a 25% cut. But eventually I purchased a new machine. It's called a UV printer that allows me to print like what LEGO does, like I mentioned earlier. This is my old machine actually. I recently sold it, got a slightly more compact version. But this machine, brand new, retails for $35,000. It's a lot of money. I got a decent deal, although looking back was not the greatest decision in my life. Don't buy a machine like this used. I bought it for $10,500. I ended up putting another $12,000 into it to get it working. That was an awful idea. Don't do that. But eventually I kind of tried a whole bunch of different ideas with the UV printer within LEGO. I eventually landed on doing game designs. Anyway, that's a game design character that I actually have upcoming here in the next couple of weeks. But essentially, products really come down to a great idea and great marketing. If you don't have one of either, things are just going to fall apart. Especially with the marketing side, my idea is kind of dumb. But the marketing aspect is where you bring everybody in. Nostalgia is my marketing gimmick. I'm sure plenty of you have grown up playing some sort of LEGO game, whether it's like Star Wars, LEGO DC, LEGO Marvel. There's a whole bunch of different games that are out there. And there's so many designs that LEGO never made, or never made it in the design, the game design accurate version. But I tried several different ideas, and nostalgia is kind of my marketing gimmick. Instead of having to create my own marketing, I could use game clips, animations, YouTube clips that were already existing, and it was the cheapest form of marketing you could ever find. But that's kind of my story. Tell me that just a second. It's a little long. I've lived 2 lifetimes in the last 6 years of my life. I've constantly been overworking myself, and until recently, putting every ounce of breath that was not used for school into my business. But in CBW, my business might as well be my child because of how much time I put into it. It's been my hobby, business, community outlet. Going back, what I said earlier, I grew up homeschooled. I'm not your stereotypical homeschooler, though I know the stereotype, and I did get nicked. I'm still a dinosaur fan. In fact, in between writing this, I was looking at museums to go look at fossils. Growing up homeschooled, I didn't really have any friends. I went once a week to co-op with others in the same curriculum, but we were really only friends because of association and proximity. I say this not really out of pity, but maybe to show when life gives you a bad hand, that you can make the most out of it. And if you weren't paying attention until now, I want you to leave what I'm saying knowing one thing. You don't need to have the right tools, the right equipment, or the right knowledge, or sometimes even have the right idea. I'm an idiot 19-year-old that got lucky. I started this all when I was 16. I started doing Lego stuff when I was 14.